right, here you go. Shout out to Mr. Weekly. Really enjoyed your class. Not very much stuff on my flashcards. I got one more to show you. It's that one. Pause the video to look at those. And that's about to talk about the minimum wage. All right. So suppose that many people were to acknowledge the idea of raising the minimum wage. Now, often that sounds like a good idea, but what if I were to tell you that raising the minimum wage could possibly hurt the very people it attempts to protect, namely poor people? Now, I think raising the minimum wage could fail for possibly two reasons in Mississippi. One would be its inadequacy, or basically that raising the minimum wage is simply ineffective to solve Mississippi's poor problem, right? And also, I think more seriously, raising the minimum wage could cause people to ultimately lose their jobs. Now, according to the NBER, which is the National Bureau of Economic Research, very important people, in particular towards small businesses, it could cause these businesses to reduce their amount of hours for their employees, cut their employees' pay, or cut their employees off potentially forever, basically fire them. Now, I mentioned that these are more in particular towards small businesses, of which Mississippi is mainly. The reason why this stuff happens is because many of these small businesses whose profits are already slim to none cannot simply afford these extra revenues that have to come out of pocket for, because they aren't your sort of multi-billion-dollar industries. They're your average mom and pop shop. You know, they're not Amazon, they're not Walmart, they're not Facebook, you know, they're not Microsoft. These are businesses that hardly earn any income. In fact, starting out, they might not earn any income at all. It might be backwards. It might be negative. So you have to consider that. Now, another reason why I think raising the minimum wage isn't possibly the best thing to fix Mississippi's poverty problem is simply because it simply doesn't fix it. And that would be because of inflation. Now, if we were to raise the minimum wage, many of these employers would raise the prices of their products, which would put people back in phase one. Now, according to the Harvard Kennedy studies, this is exactly what happens. Like, for example, in California, there are increased minimum wages, but yet a shortage amount of job opportunities. Now, this is a consequence of increased minimum wages, and I think that this is a shadow, or this proves that increased minimum wages do not always work, because we have states like California, for example, with very high minimum wages, but yet they have a very serious poor problem. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of poor people living in the streets of San Francisco and Los Angeles, but yet this state has a very high minimum wage, and consequently has less economic opportunity for smaller businesses because they cannot afford it. Now, if their wage were to be decreased, maybe they would have more economic opportunity to have these small businesses flourish, and then subsequently add the pay to their own employees. Now, also, according to the Employment Policies Institute, only about 5% of economists actually believe that raising the minimum wage to, say, $15 an hour is actually effective to solve the problem of Mississippi's poverty problem, or any poverty problem thereof. Now, overall, though, I think that raising the minimum wage simply is ineffective because for two things, and that would be that it's overall inconsequential and therefore inadequate, and also it can ultimately cause people to lose their jobs. And for that, I want to say thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.